Alright, so today's video is going to be a little too lengthy. It's going to be a little lengthy and might be a little confusing. So I have pre-made a bunch of folders down so that you just follow along and then get it done, so you don't get confused or mix anything up. Before we begin, I want us to quickly make a few changes at a few places before we forget. Right, so what is the first place that I want us to make our change? The first place I want us to make our change is the user box. So let's quickly go into the user folder, and then I'll click on the page here. Okay, I think it should be in the component, so user box here, and we'll quickly scroll up to this one, this side, and then all we have to do is add the s, right, so we don't get confused along the line. Then right after doing that, the next thing we want to check is the use routes. So for that one, we need to go to the hooks and go to use routes, and we make sure that we pass in what conversations. That is awesome. And right after doing that, we want to quickly go on to work on the actual projects that we're working on today. So what we want to quickly work on is we want to be able to create conversations. All right, so in order for us to be able to do that, the first thing that we are going to do is we are going to go into the API, and then we are going to create a new folder here called conversations. So entering this folder, as you can see, there's nothing in here, right? So entering here, what we are going to do is we're going to create a routes.ts file. So routes.ts, right? So routes.ts file. Then inside this routes.ts, what we are going to be doing is, let's first of all import. So we are going to let's first of all import. So I would say what, import get current user. We want to get the current user. Okay, so right after importing that, the next thing is we want to quickly import next response from the next server, and right after we want to import Prisma. So Prisma from Prisma DB. Alright, this is awesome. Right after working on this, we want to quickly come here and then export a sync. So a sync function here. Then we make sure that the name is what, posts. Okay, in capital. And then over here we set this to be what, oh, come on. So we set this to be request. We set it to be request. That is small. So request, small letter requests. Then request. Then we are going to see what the type is going to be request. Alright, nice one. So right after setting this up, what we want to do is we want to come inside, and then we want to open up our try catch block. Okay, so with this try catch block, that is what we are going to be using to write, this is what we are going to be using to create our conversations, right? So quickly, what we want to do is we want to make sure that inside the error we are returning, so in case there's an error, we want to return new next response, right? Then we see what, internal server error, okay. Then right after that, we make sure that we pass in the status 500. Okay, after working on the error, what we quickly want to do is we want to come back to the top here. Inside the try block, we want to first of all get the current user. So we'll say current user is equal to what, await get current user. Then we initialize that. Then what else do? We want to get the body. So for the body, we'll equate it to await. Then we say what? Let's take the request and then make it a JSON object so that it can work with our request well. Sorry, it can work with our API actions well, right? Or we can be able to pass in data well. Okay, so right after doing that, we want to quickly come here and then basically take the body and then destructure it into a bunch of properties that we are using to collect our data, right? So we first of all want to take the user ID. Okay, let me equate it to the body so that we know we are taking all these things from the body. So we are taking the user ID, then we are taking what is group. So we are going to be creating group chats and everything. So we are basically creating all these things to cover all those conditions. So we have members, and then we have name over here. Nice one. Then right after collecting all these properties from the bodies, all these fields from the body, what we want to do is we quickly want to come and check. So what we want to check if it's not the current user, or if the current user is not available, or if it's not the current user, if it's not the current user, if it's not the current user's ID, and it's not the current user's email. Okay, so we want to check for that. So we'll see what. Yeah, that's like another way of saying that there's nobody logged in, right? So yeah, if it's not the current user dot ID, okay, like I mean, if the current user is obviously not logged in, then it can't be that current user, right? It's obviously someone else's. So it's what if it's not the current user's ID or the current user's what email, then what do we want to do? We want to make sure that what we say it's what new next next response, and then we'll say what unauthorized. Then we are quickly going to set the status to what to 401. Nice one. So they are checking, right? They are checking if it's not the current user's ID or the current user's email that is about to create the new chat, right? So basically someone who has not logged in is trying to create a new chat. We want to block the person from doing that. Then we want to say if it is group, right? If it's a group chat, okay, and okay, so if it's a group chat and there are no members, right, or the members or the member number, right, or the number of members, so that is members.length, right? So members.length is less than 2, right? Or there is no name, right? What do we want to do? We quickly want to come here and also return RL. I'll just copy this one and then paste it here nicely. Then I'll just change it to what bad requests. Okay, so this is basically a different condition we are checking for in case someone is trying to create a group under the conditions that do not favor creating a group. So right after setting this up, what we want to do is I want to come down here, right, and then I want to create a new group chat, right? So for that we say if is group, right, if is group has been passed to the body, then what do we want to do? We want to quickly say what const new conversation. So we are creating a new group chat, right? So a new conversation is going to be equal to await what prisma dot conversation dot create. Okay, then we pass in what data, and then we say what name. Okay, then is group users. Okay, then connect, then we see what take the members. So basically we are saying what take the members, right, that are already there or that already exist, or yeah, take the members that are already being passed and map through them, right, map through them, and basically say this members. So members or member, right, then we are going to set the value type to string. Okay, then right after doing that, we quickly want to come here. Okay, so inside here, right, inside here, then we would open up this brackets like this, and what we want to do is we just pass the ID of each member. So we'll pass in the ID as the member for, like, we'll pass in the ID of the conversation to be what each member's ID, but like it's in the value object, so we'll just pass it like member.value. Okay, so that is basically it. Then we'll just come right behind this side here, and then we'll come and open up this nice object. Then we'll pass in what the current login user's ID separately. That is very crucial. Okay, so we pass it in like this. Nice one. Nice one. So right after doing it like this, what we are quickly going to do is we want to make sure that we can easily display we can easily populate the response with the user details of those inside the conversations, right? So for that, we can just come to the last one, and then, or the last but one, the curly brace, we hit enter, and we now pass in include, and then over there we just say what users is what true. Okay, nice one. So that is how this is done in Prisma. Then right after setting this up like this, what you quickly want to do is you want to make sure that you are returning. So this at this last side here, right, so we need to make sure that we are returning. So this is our if, so we make sure that around here we return, so we return what next response dot json, then we return what new conversation. Nice one. All right, now that we've been able to do this, right, to set up the functionality that is going to help us create a group chat, let us quickly work on a one-on-one conversation. So that we just say const existing conversation. So for this one, we want to check if the you see here, we want to make sure that whenever you click on one person here, it creates a new conversation, right? So now we want to check if the person that you're clicking on, you and that person already has a conversation, so that you don't go and create a new conversation, right? So in that situation, we would say what const existing conversation. Okay, let me, this thing is making noise, but yeah, is I want to quickly I want to mute this, and I want to check if it affects our sound. Hello. Okay, it doesn't affect the sound, so we can still record. So const existing conversation, then I will quickly await, then what, prisma dot conversation, right, dot find mini. Now you may ask that why is it that we are trying to work, or we are trying to check for a one-on-one conversation between me and someone, right? So like, why are we using find mini? And that is because of how Prisma is constructed. So because of that, we kind of don't have any other choice than to use find mini. But don't worry, when we use find mini and then we get the data in an array, we are just going to take the first item inside, right? And that is obviously going to be that our one-on-one conversation. So find mini, then we pass in where, then over here we just say what, capital or yes. Then right after, we open up the array and we basically pass in the object. Then inside the object we say what, user IDs, then what, equals, then what, we see what, it's going to be user ID, and then the current user dot ID. Now this is how we are checking for an existing conversation. We are checking at places where, or we are checking inside the database, and we are checking whether the IDs of these conversations have both the user ID and then the current user ID inside, right? To basically the sender and the receiver, right? From both perspectives. And we want to also see what we just did here, right? Let's quickly take this one and quickly copy and paste it here. But like, we just switch the positions just so we make sure that we don't miss any other conditional queries that our database is going to perform, because there were such hurdles while building this way before. So right after setting it up like this, what we want to quickly do is we want to come down here, right, we want to come down, which is this side, and we want to come and look for the single conversation, right? So for that, remember I said at the middle side, around that part where we were creating, or we're searching for the existing conversation, that we are going to take the first item inside the array. So that is going to be this place. So I'll just say what, single conversation is equal to what, existing conversation, and then we just take the first item inside the array successfully. So after doing that, we want to come and check again. We want to say that, if in case we check and then yeah, it's true, like we found a single conversation here, right? In case we check and we say, we found a single conversation, what we want to quickly do is we want to come down here and then return what, we want to return that single conversation that we were able to query out, right? So next response, then we passing what, so next response the JSON, then we passing what, the single conversation, right? Nice and clean. So right after working with that, right, so this is basically how we are going to be handling conversations, one-on-one conversations that already exist, right? That means you've already talked to them in the past, type of thing, right? So right after setting this up, we quickly want to create actual new conversations. So for that we have to say what const new conversations, right? So new conversation, then we say what await. Then this await is basically going to go to Prisma. We're going to go to Prisma, and then we say what Prisma dot what conversation dot create, right? Then we open up this brackets, then we bring in the curly braces, then we say what data, and then this data is going to be what this data is going to be what users, and inside this users we want to connect, right? Then okay, then right after we take the id, right? We take the id and then we are going to be passing it in as what current user dot id, nice and clean. And then we'll come and copy this one too as well, and then come and paste. Then for this one's id, all we need to do is user id. Then I'll just, yes, so that is basically it for that. Nice one. So right after we are done doing that, like I said before, we want to be able to make sure that while we are querying this out, we can also just simply display the user details. So for that, I'll just say include, then here we just pass in what users is what true. Then right after this is successful, we want to make sure that we send back a response. So return response.json what new conversation. Nice one. So right after working on this, what we quickly want to do is we want to go into the home. Of the conversations page. So in order for us to be able to do that, let us quickly collapse this. Then we'll come back, open up the app, go to this conversations folder. So you obviously don't have the conversations folder, but how you're going to get it is you're going to have to create it yourself, right? So inside your app folder, you're going to create a conversations folder here. Then inside this conversations folder, you are going to this conversations folder here, right? What we are going to need is you're going to create two files. The first file is going to be what layout.tsx, and then the second file we are going to need is page.tsx. Nice one. So right after setting this up, what we quickly want to do is I want to say RAFCE, and then I'll just generate the boilerplate. Then I'll just make this home. Okay, nice one. So right after setting this up, what we quickly want to do is we want to come above here and then set it to what use client. So use client. Nice one. Then right after doing that, you want to quickly come and then import C. So yes, you quickly want to come and import CLSX from CLSX and then right after doing that, what you want to do is you can just come down here and then import a few hooks that you're going to need, right? So as you can see, we can just import use conversation from the hooks slash use conversation. Then we can also import empty state. So import empty state. So empty states. Nice one. Then right after importing all these bad boys, what we quickly want to do is we want to come down here and then we want to take that is open properly or its open state, and then we are going to be taking it from what the use conversation hook or custom hook. Use conversation custom hook. So right after setting this up, what we quickly want to do is inside here we can just see div, then inside we pass in what? We pass in the empty state. If you want to see, you can just expand, and you can see it's not really that much of a difference, but don't worry, it is here. And right after setting up your empty state over here, what you quickly want to do is you want to come and add a few class names. So for the class name, we'll come here and then say class name, right? Then this class name is going to be made with the CLSX. So for that, we can just open this up, then CLSX, and these class names are not, plenty like that, so I guess we can still write them on the same line over here. So I can just open up this double quotes, and then we are going to write what's LGPL80, then we want to say what's hfull, and we want to say what's LGblock. Then after this, all we need to do is bring the comma, and then we check the property. So we say, oh, check if it's open, set the stylings to what? Block. Okay, then, but if that's not the case, well, keep it hidden. Okay, nice one. Okay, so right after setting this up on the page, in the page.tsx inside the components, what we quickly want to do is we want to go to the layout, and we want to quickly work on the layout. Okay, so as you can see, this is our layout, and looking inside the actions, we need to be able to work on getting conversations actions. So in order for us to be able to work on that, let us quickly go inside the folder that the folder that is named actions, and basically create a new file inside, and then this file's name is going to be called what? Get conversations. Okay, .ts. Nice one. So now that we have this get conversations .ts over here, what we quickly want to do is quite simple. So for this, what we are going to do is I can just quickly open this RAFCE here, and then we can clean this out, right? Then right after cleaning that out, we can just come here and come and get our current user by saying const current user is equal to what? Await current user. So for the await the current, for us to be able to await our current user, all we need to do is pass in the async here, and come here and then await. So await current user, get current user. Nice one. Then we just initialize that nicely. Then right after doing that, we want to check for a couple of things. So you say what? If what? So I want to create this using the snippet, but I guess it's not showing. So if current user dot id doesn't exist or is not available, right? We want to return an empty array. Nice one. Then we want to come down here, right? Then we want to say try, right? So inside this try here, what we want to do is, in case there's an error, we want to return what? an empty array, nice and clean. Then inside this try here, what we are going to do is we are going to get the conversation. So you see what const what conversations, conversations is going to be equal to what await prisma. Now you can see that this is prisma, but we have not imported prisma inside our project, so or our file. So in order for us to be able to do that, let's quickly come and then import prisma from app, then slash libs slash prisma db. Nice one. So over here we see what prisma dot what conversation dot find mini, and then we open this up as usual. Then what we are going to do is first of all going to order them by descending, right? So we see what last message at what descending. Nice one. So right after doing this, what else are we going to do? I'm quickly going to come here and then say where, right? Then where we are going to say inside the user ID, we're checking inside the user ID, the user IDs, and then this user ID we want to check if the the current user or the current logged in user is inside that list of user IDs, right? So okay, now now most of the time the reason why we are trying to do this for the most part is we don't want to display the current login user amongst this list here, or else like you don't want to be texting yourself, right? You don't want to be talking to yourself. So we are performing this check, just to prevent that from happening. And right after that we are going to come to the include as usual, and then sorry. So right after that we say what users, then we set that users to what true. That is, we need to be able to display all their details. Then now for the messages we need to do it in a certain way. So for here we say that messages, then we say include what the sender, and include the sender and scene, right? So sender, that is true, and then the person who saw it, right? So scene, then we say what true. Nice one. Then right after we are done, we want to come down here and then return the conversation. Send conversations. Nice one. So right after working on this, what we quickly want to do is we quickly want to go to the place where we wanted to use the get conversations, and that is obviously going to be what our layout.tsx. So over here what we are quickly going to do is RAFCE as usual to just generate this really quick stuff here. Then we change it to what conversations layout. Right after setting it up like this, we want to set it to be an asynchronous function, and we want to say that it's going to receive a bunch of children. So children here, and then we are just going to say what children. So the children property, or the children prop here, is going to be what? It's going to be a react node. Nice one. So right after working this out, what we quickly want to do is we want to come down here. And then we see const conversations is equal to what? Await get conversation. Then we just what? Initialize that. We need to spell this well. Conversations. Nice one. So right after working with this or creating this, what we quickly want to do is we want to come here first of all. Then we open this up. Then first of all, we want to render our sidebar. So I want the snippet to show it, so that so it's here. So sidebar. Then inside the sidebar, we are going to be passing in a few children. The first is a div with h full as its first class name. Then we need to make sure that we pass in the children as expected. Nice one. But there is one problem here, right? Now the problem is we need to be able to create the conversation list, right? So for the conversation list, we can quickly just come here and say conversation list, right? Then that's it. So we are going to get our error. Then we are going to get our error. But before we do anything, let us quickly pass in a sample prop and say what initial items is going to be what? It's going to be what? Conversations. You guessed it right. Buy yourself a cookie. So right after doing this, right, what we want to do is inside this component, you can see that this components folder has been pre-created, like I said before from the beginning. Then inside here, we want to quickly create. So we see what conversation list. Okay. Dot what tsx. Nice one. Then right after setting this up, what we want to do is we want to say refce so that we can get rid of the error inside our layout.tsx. So here, okay, then we just import nicely. Now as you can see, the initial items here is showing this red underline, but don't worry, we're going to work on that as soon as possible. So basically what I quickly want us to work on, just so that we can prevent this one from occurring in the future, because there's this error that is coming with this and we don't want to experience that error in the future. So let us quickly create types for it. Right now, in order for us to create the types for it, let's go to the types here. Right, let's go to the types there. Then what we're quickly going to say is we're going to create a new file called index.ts. So index.ts over here. Then inside your index.ts, what you want to do is first is you want to export what? You want to export type here, right? Full message type. So we're writing the type for the messages. Then you're going to equate it to what? Message. Now this message we are going to be getting it from the our Prisma client here. Then right after that, we bring this ampersand and we open it up like this, nice and clean. Then we are going to say that for each message we definitely want to make sure that the sender is a user that follows how it was arranged. Okay, so basically the sender is a user, and the scene2 is also going to be an array of users. So nice one. Then okay, so right after doing this, I think we have to import the user. Alright, nicely done. So right after doing this, what we're going to do is we can quickly just copy this and paste it here. Then we can see what full conversation type, full conversation type over here, right? Then we can see this one is no more message but now conversation. Nice one. Alright, then right after setting that up, you can just come here and then set the users to be what user, and with the array, then we now come here and see what messages. Okay, becomes what full message type. Nice and clean. We need to fix the spellings on the messages over here. Nice one. So right after working on this, what we quickly want to do is we want to go back to the quickly go back to the conversation list and then work on what we had to work on. So inside this place, this is our conversation list. Then what we are quickly going to do now is I'm going to have an interface. Okay, so we'll say interface is going to be what conversation but list props. So conversation list props. Then we see what initial what items. Okay, initial items. Then we see what full conversation type over here. Nicely done. Then we just add the array in front. Nice. So right after setting this up, what we quickly want to do is inside here we want to say what react. So react.fc, right? Then we passing with the conversation list props over here. Then what we want to do is inside here we passing with initial items. Now we have been able to get rid of that potential error I was talking about. Then right after, we're going to come here and then we say what we're going to come here and say const items set items, right? Then we are going to equate it to what use state. Then it's going to be what initial items to be its initial state. Nice one. So right after working on this, what we quickly want to do is we want to also import or use the use router. So I'll say what const router. Now import from what use router, and then we are going to be taking it from next navigation. Always remember not to choose use router and then take from router. Always remember to avoid that and always choose use router from next navigation. Okay, nice one. So right after working on that too as well, we can simply come here and then create this object construction here. Then what we are going to say is what conversation id is open, right? So it's open conversation id. Then we are equating it to what use conversation. Nice one. So after taking this and putting it inside our conversation list here, right? What we quickly want to do is we want to come inside and then add in a few elements. Okay, so over here, let's not waste too much time. I'll open up the brackets like this, and the first thing is we're going to be adding the aside element, nice and clean. Then inside this aside element, we are going to pass in a few class names or a lot of class names. So here we say what fixed, okay. Then insert y0 here. Then we want to say what pb20, okay. Then we want to make sure that what your you want to make sure that your LG, so you want to make sure that your LG left is what 20, okay. Then you want to say what you want to say that what your LG what LG PB or padding bottom is what padding bottom is what 0, okay, nice one. Then right after that, you want to make sure that you're taking your LG and then you're setting the width to be what 80, nice one. Then you can come here and then take your LG and then set it to what block, LG, set it to what block, nice one. Then right after that, you can come and say what overflow y auto, overflow y auto. Then you can set the border to be R, so you can set the border to be R, border right, so that's basically border right. And we can say that what border gray, so border gray. Then we say what 200, nice one. So right after doing that, we need to write as we basically need to write this conditional stylings, but as you can see, since we wrote it inside the class name, we can't do that. So what we are going to do is we are going to cover this with the curly braces. Then we will quickly call the CLSX here, okay. Then they will quickly come and close this. Then as you can see, we still need to pass in the backticks, so backtick here, backtick here. Then we are all safe and sound. So right after that, for the optional styling, we want to check for is open. So if you check is open and you realize that yeah, it is open, is true, we want to set it to what hidden, right? Then but if not, we set it to what block with full, left 0, nice one. All right, so right after working on this, what we quickly want to do is we want to come inside this aside here, and then we want to add one div, and then this div is going to have the px of 5, so px-5. So we're going to say px-5, and we are simply going to create it, and we're going to have another div that its first class name is going to be flex. Then after the flex, what we are going to basically pass in is justify between, then what mb4, and then pt4, nice one. So right after working on this, you want to come here inside again, and you want to basically add this div as well, and then this div is going to have the value of messages, okay. Then we are going to pass in a few class names, that wouldn't hurt you. So class name, then we see what text to XL, right? Then we set it to font bold, then we say what, text neutral 800. Text neutral 800. Nice one. So you should be able to see it when we go into the chats, when we go into the conversation. So when you click on this, right, it should be able to take you there. It says what, important components, use router. So it says use client, and that is going to be what, the conversations list. And yes, that is true. So let's not forget to make this use client. Okay, use clients. I always, so yeah, nice one. Then right after doing that, your project should load nicely. Okay, so you can see here that we have the messages. We have the messages here, nice and clean, right? Then what we want to do now is, we want to make sure that under this messages div, we are passing in another div that will basically that should basically appear right around here and should allow us to add a group chat every time you want to, right? So in order for us to be able to do that, what we are quickly going to do is we're going to create this div, and then this div is going to have like a bunch of class names, right? So you can just say class name, right? And then the first class name that a div is going to have is what, rounded full. So rounded full, then we have p2, then we have bg gray 100, then we have text gray 100, and then we have what, cursor pointer. Then what else do we have? We have hover. So whenever we hover, we want to set the opacity to what, 75 here. Then we see what, transition. So transition, nice one. So right after working on these class names right here, right after working on them, what we quickly want to do is we want to come and then add that icon that I was talking about. So inside you see what, tick md outline group add. Alright, then so md outline group add, nicely done. Then we set the size, so you set the size to 20, nice and clean. So right after working on this part, what we want to do is we want to come down right below these two divs here, and we are going to enter, and then over here we are going to do a few checks and a few mappings, right? So we are going to say that, check if so basically check the items dot what, check the items. So items, and then after checking them, I need you to map through, and I need you to basically take each and every single item in here, right? And I need you to, so then right after, I need you to quickly open this up, right? Then you are going to have to render this new component we are about to create called what, conversation box. Okay, so conversation box, nice and clean. Conversation box, nice and clean. Then right after that, we want to set the key. So all these are props that we are going to be passing in the near future. So item.id, then we have what, data and the data is going to be equal to what item here, like this, nice and clean. Then we see what selected. So we say selected is what, so selected is what is going to be conversation id. So conversation id item dot id. Okay, nice one. So right after doing this, let's quickly come here and then create our conversation box component here. So conversation box, I can easily just copy the name. Don't want to type it again. So after that, we just come here and copy and paste. Then we say what's conversation box.tsx. Then inside this conversation box.tsx here, let's try to get rid of the error by taking this out. Then we would come here. Okay, nice one. So as you can see, we have added the conversation box, but we've not passed in the props, so obviously we are going to be getting some errors. Okay, so now that we have been able to pass in the conversation box, and we know that so far there are 2 conversations that we have available inside our database, what else do we want to do? We want to go into this conversation box and then start passing in some stylings and stuff and the necessary properties needed to display the right data. So what I'm going to do first of all is let's create our interface. So this interface, then inside the interface we have conversation box props. Nice one. So inside this conversation box props, we want to say data, then we are taking this data from what's full conversation type. Alright, full conversation type. Then we would say selected. So selected. Okay, boolean, a small letter boolean. Nice one. Then right after setting this up, let's make sure that we are passing it in. So we see what react.fc is going to be what conversation box props, right? Then inside we will pass it in. So we'll see what data and selected. Nice and clean. So right after setting this up, what do we want to do now? The first thing that we want to do over here is we want to be able to get a few things. Okay, so but before we do that, we need to be able to create one more hook, and then this hook is going to be called use other user. Okay, so let's quickly come here. Let's quickly collapse this. Okay, collapse this, and we are going to come to the hooks here. So we see what use other user. So use other user. Okay, .tsx. Okay, nice one. So for the use other user, we are not going to waste too much time. Let's basically use the RAFCA to generate it as fast as possible. Then yes, it has to be TS, not TSX. Nice one. So right after doing this, what we want to do is we want to first of all come here, right, inside this braces here, right? So we can just do this nice and clean. Then we take conversation, right? So this conversation, right, that we are taking, what we want to do is we want to say that we are passing in with the full conversation type on it, like this, right? Then we want to bring this straight line there. Then over here we want to what, say user, and then with the array, nicely done. But we need to import this, so we just say what this, so we just imported it nicely. Okay, so right after doing this, what is our next move? Right now, okay, my mouse is missing. Okay, so it's here, so I'm going to hit enter. Now the next move is to basically now come and then say const, so we say const session. So const session is going to be equal to what, use session. Okay, so use session. Then right after that, we want to come here and then get the other user. So the other user, we are going to memorize getting it. So we're going to say const other user is going to be equal to what, conversations. Sorry, going to be equal to use memo, right? Use memo. Then after we open up this curly braces, so let's import use memo. So this is use memo, it's already above here. Then let's pass in the empty dependencies, or else we can get rid of the error. So as you can see, it is here, nice and clean. Now let's quickly pass it in. So we say what, const what, current, say const current user email, right? Const current user email is going to be equal to a session dot what, data. Okay, session, so let's fix this spelling. Session dot data dot user dot email like this. Right, nice one. Then right after doing that, we want to do some small filtering here, right? So how do we get the other user out of it? We are going to say what, other user is going to be equal to what, conversations conversation dot what, users dot filter, right? Then we open this up and we say what, user is going to what, user dot email is not what, equal to current user email, so that we can just take, we can just filter out the other user out of it. So now the other user, now that the other user has been filtered out, what we quickly want to do now is, let me format this thing well and nice, right? So right after doing that, what we want to do is we want to come and return this other user here, right? So basically I can just come and return. So we'll say what, return. Okay, the PC is slow again. What is wrong with the PC? I want to pause the video so that when it's back, okay, it's here now. So return nicely. Then we say what, other user. So other user, then we are going to say what's the first element inside the filter, right? Then right after that, we want to come down below here, and then we want to return the other user that we created above. Other user, nice one. Okay, Now that we have that, we can just come here and then session dot data email dot user dot email here, right? Then right after we say what conversation dot what users. Nice one. So right after working on this hook, what we want to do is you can now go back to conversation box, right? And then that is, and just collapse this hooks here, go into the conversation box, and then we can start. So what we're going to do is, first of all, get the other user. Okay, so we say const other user const other user is going to be equal to what, use other user. And right after that, we want to do what, pass in the data. That, so if you remember, we were supposed to be getting some data, so we are fully passing in that data. Okay, so let's refresh, and everything should be done nice and clean by now. Okay, so right after that, we want to get the session, so we say const session is equal to what, use session. Then we need to import the session. So importing the session, right after importing the session, what we want to do is we want to now come and then import our use router. So I'll say const router is equal to what, use router. And then we are getting from next navigation. Then don't forget to initialize it nicely like this. Now we want to work on the first thing, that is going to be a handle click function. So say handle click, const handle click here. Then this handle click is basically going to be this handle click is basically going to be a callback. So say use callback, right? So use callback, and then it's not going to have any parameters. What we are going to need to do is to what, take our router. So we say router dot what, push. Okay, so router dot push, and where are we pushing to? We first of all take the backticks, then we bring the slash, then we see what, conversations slash what, data dot id. So data dot id. Nicely done. So right after that, what we want to do is we want to quickly set the dependency here. So let's set the dependency here to what, data dot id and what, router. Nice one. So right after signing up the handle click over here nice and clean, what we quickly want to do is we want to be able to get the last message, and we are going to be doing that with use memo. So we say const last message is going to be what, last message is going to be equal to what, use memo, right? Use memo, and then we open this up. Let's make sure we pass in all the necessary things. Okay, nice one. So now we are out of the errors. So this last message, we are going to do that by first of all saying what, const messages, right? Then we are going to equate it with data dot what, messages, okay, or nothing. So messages could be involved in the data, or they could or the last message could also be nothing. Okay, now based off of the results that we are going to get here is what we are going to use to determine a response in a future function that we are about to write. Okay, so um now that we have been able to put this messages thing in the variable here, what we quickly want to do is very simple. We are going to come down here and then return what message, to return the messages, what messages dot length minus 1, right? So that is basically it. Then we make sure that we pass in what data dot messages as the dependency. So we say data dot messages as the dependency. Nice and clean. So right after doing that, what we quickly want to come and do is we want to come down here and then see what const user email. So const user email is going to what the same use memo. So let's just quickly copy this. So right after copying this inside the user email, what we are quickly going to do is very simple. We just remove this and then we just return what all we need to do is to just return session data. So session data dot user, right, dot email. Nice one. So right after doing that, we make sure that we set the dependency to what the same thing. Okay, nice one. So right after getting the current user email here, we want to check for one more thing. Okay, so we want to check for one more thing. Now what is that one more thing that we want to check for? Right, we want to check if the user has seen, right? So in order for us to be able to do that, you're going to say const has seen. So const has seen is going to be what equal to use memo here, right? Then what we are quickly going to do is very simple. We just remove this one out, and then we can just start by, first of all, what we are going to be doing inside the scene is we want to check for the last message. So we say, oh, if there is no last message, then I need you to make sure that what and if there is no last message, I need you to make sure that you return what false. Okay, so return false over here. Okay, now that we've been able to do that, we need to come here and get the array of what seen messages. So we see what seen array, then we come here and then we come and see what last message dot seen. Nice one. So oh sorry, set this to an empty array, nice and clean like this. Alright, so right after creating the condition over here, what we are going to be doing here is I'm going to check again if there is no user.email, so if there is no user email here, right, what we want to do is we want to submit with false, or we want to return false to prevent any calamities. So return with false. Nice one. Then right after returning false for the user email over here, what we want to do is what? We want to come and return the scene array dot filter, the scene array dot filter, and then user, then what? User dot email, okay, is equal to user email. Nice one. So dot length, okay, 0. Okay, nice one. So yeah, so basically we are just trying to get all the scene all the scene messages, all the scene messages, or all the scene users array without having to add the current login user to it. Nice and clean. So right after doing that, right, so right after doing that, okay, so right after doing that, what we want to do is we want to come down, and then we want to add one last use memo, okay, and then that is going to be the last message text. So the last message text is going to what const what last message text. So the last message text is going to be what, I can just come and copy this use memo here, and then we can just paste it here. Then what we want to quickly do is, let's not forget that over here, well, over here we need to pass in a few dependencies, right, and that is going to be what user email and what last message. Nice. So right after setting this up, right, we want to quickly come down here. So okay, so that's basically what we just duplicated here, right? So we want to come down here, and then we'll see what last message text. Now this last message text, we are going to check for a few things. We want to see that, check if the last message has what, if the last message has image, right, then I need you to return a text that says what, sent an image, right, or sent you a photo, like which one, the one that you feel comfortable about. You can simply just update it like that. Nice one. So right after that, we want to also check for if the last message, so I can just copy this, paste it here, right, and then I'll see what, check if the last message had a body. If it did, if the last message did have a body, then we want to return what, last message dot body, last message dot body. Okay, nice one, nice and clean. So right after setting this up, we want to make sure that right after setting this up, we want to make sure that we can come down here and then clean this last return over here, and then we can simply just see what started a new conversation. So what, started a new conversation. Nice and clean. Let's quickly make the conversation small, nice and clean. All right, now that we have this working out the way we want it to work, let's not forget to add our last dependency, which is what? Last message. Okay, now it is time for us to now style and add elements to our conversation box, right? So in order for us to be able to do that, let's not waste too much time. The first thing we're going to do is inside here we open up this brackets, and then we are going to do it. We're going to pass in main w 0, and then that should basically give us the this div here, right? Then right after that, what we want to do again is what? Flex 1. Okay, so that is basically it. Then right after that, we want to create this other div here, and it's going to be focus outline, nice and clean, like this. Nice one. Then right after doing that, what we quickly want to do is we want to create another div with the first class name being flex. Then inside we basically added like a bunch of other class names, and that is going to be what? Justify between item center and mb1. Nice one, like this. Okay, nice one. So right after setting that one up, quickly want to come here, create a p tag, and then inside this p tag here we want to simply pass in what? Data.name, and that is going to be for group chats data.name, or what? Current user, sorry, other user, dot what? Name. Nice one. So once you save, you should be able to see the new changes made in real time. Now right after we were able to do that, we need to, so as you can see they are here now. Now right after we were able to do that, we needed to basically, or we need to basically create this time. So we need to create this timestamp, right? So for the timestamp, you might not see it right now because obviously there are no chats inside, there are no messages inside the conversation, so you won't see, but there's a way to look at it for the meantime though. So but yeah, the first thing is you're going to have to pass in last message. So you're checking for the last message, right? Dot created at okay, nice one. Then right after that, we want to say what? Then so last message dot created at, then we have what? The double ampersand. That means we want to render out something. So what are we trying to render out? We say this p tag, right? And then this p tag is going to have like a bunch of class names, and that is good. And the first class name is going to be what? Text s text xs, so that is like extra small. So text xs, so extra small. Then we have what? Text gray, what? Text gray 400. Okay, 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 text gray 400. Okay, Then right after doing that, we want to make sure that we set the font light nicely, and then inside this we want to pass in this format method, right? But we can't access the format method until we install a package and that package is called what? datefns. So for the datefns, we're just going to do what? npm I datefns, then we just give him a legacy PLDEPS. So legacy PLDEPS. Alright, so yeah, once it's installing, let us quickly pass in the format. So format, and then we are going to say what? New date, then inside this new date we are going to see what? Last message. So last message what? Dot created at. Then what else do we run? Just bring in the comma and then pass in the p small letter, and that should basically be it, and that should help us display our time pertaining to the conversation, right? Okay, so now that we have been able to set this up, what else is next? That is basically going to be the last thing that we are going to be working on, and that last thing is going to be what? Is going to be the last message text. Okay, so but like before we work on the last message text, I want us to quickly come here, right above here. Okay, right above here. Okay, so let's not waste too much time, right? This one has to install. I don't know why it's still wasting time. Let me quickly copy this and then try to reinstall it again. Okay, nice one. So let's not worry, let's just come and then pass in this styling. So we'll say what? P. Okay, so we'll say P, and then this is also another P tag. Then this P tag is basically going to be holding what? The last message text. Last message text. Okay, nice one. So after this P holding the last message text, we need to be able to work on the stylings, right? So for that, we're going to have to add a class name. Then this class name here is going to be the one with the CLSX. Okay, so that should basically appear for us to import nicely. Then right after that, we can simply use the back text here. Nice. Okay, so nice. So here it is, right? Okay, yeah. So now that we have that inside here, what we're going to do is we're just going to pass in truncate, and we're going to say what? Text sm, nice and clean. Then we'll come down here. After this, we'll bring this comma and then come here and come and write what? Has seen. So for her scene, you can set it to what? Text gray. So text gray what? 500. But if not, you can set it to what? Text black. Text black and font medium. Okay, nice one, nice and clean. So right after setting it up like this, what we want to do is, okay, so it is done installing, so we can simply just import it from our datefns. Okay, it should be able to import. Okay, the snippet is not showing because for some reason VS Code has decided it becomes slow, so I guess we are going to have to import it manually. So let's come here and then import. So we'll see what what we are going to say is what, let's take the format from what, let's take the format module from, or the format method from what, date fns. That is all. Then as you can see, it is looking like this, but we are not done at all. There is one more thing that we need to work on, and that is going to be, we need to wrap all of these around one whole div. So let's create this div. Okay, VS Code has become slow for some weird reason. Okay, so I guess I have to create the div from scratch. Yeah, so this is the div. I'll cut it and then I'll come and paste it here. Nice one. Okay, so this div that we have been able to use to expand, right? What we are going to be doing is, first of all, we need to pass in the onClick. First of all, we need to be able to pass in the onClick, and then this onClick is basically going to do what, handle click. And if you remember, we have the handle click that we created on top over there, right? Nice one. So after doing a handle click or passing the handle click, we need to work on class names. So we need to work on a few class names to style it to our liking. We are going to be using the CLSX. Okay, then let's not forget to open up the backticks, and then what we are going to do is, first of all, we are going to say wfull, then relative, then we say what's flex, then we say what's item center, right? Then we say what's space x3, right? Then we say what's hover bg100, hover bg, so hover bg neutral 100. Nice one. Then right after that, what are we going to say? We are going to say rounded lg, then we say what, transition, Then right after that, we'll say what cursor pointer, and then p3. Alright, so right after working on this, we can just come here, bring in this comma, and we can just come and then write a conditional styling over here. So you want to check for selected. So in case it is selected, you want to come and then write a few stylings, and then if it's not, we'll make sure we fill in those stylings too as well. So in case it is selected, let's make sure that the bg neutral is 100. So bg neutral is 100, and in case it's not, we make sure that it's what white. So bg white, nice and clean. Okay, so right after doing that, we need to pass in the last element, that is going to be our avatar. So we see what avatar, and then we would import it directly. So I need it to appear so I can import it. Okay, it looks like NextJS has become slow, so let us import it like this. I would import it above, don't worry. Then we pass in the user prop, and then that user prop is going to be what other user. Nice. So okay, so that is the avatar that I'm going to import from here. So I'll quickly say import avatar from. So okay, I don't know why the snippets are not appearing, but I kind of need them to complete this a whole lot more easier. So avatar would be, I just went back and I went back again. I can go back again. Okay, it came. It's here now. There's no need. I just have to, once, since it's here now, I can just import it directly like this. Nice one. So right after importing it nicely like this, when we expand, we should basically see that okay, it's loading up, and then you can see that this is it for our messages. And in case you want to see the time here, okay, I don't know why this is not showing. Let us check. There has to be an icon that has to be showing. Let us quickly check what is wrong. So the PC is a little slow, but we should be able to check. Okay, so inside the conversation list, so md group add, okay, okay, I'm sure maybe it's my internet connection, because everything seems fine, but if we are working in the future and we realize that it's not fine, then we'll make sure that we fix it, because right now, as I can tell from the code, it is exactly how we expected it to it is exactly how it has to be. So maybe it's the internet, or we need to change the icon. I don't know, but this is the best icon that I was able to find for it. So yeah, I mean that should basically do it for us. Okay, now if you want to view the time that the message was uploaded, all you can do is you can remove this, this is just to quickly show you how the time will look like, right? And then as you can see, if we save, you can see that it is showing here nice and clean. Okay, so let's revert back to it. So okay, nice and clean. So yes, that is basically it for setting up our conversations, for setting up the functionality that allows us to create our conversations and also list all the people that we've had conversations with and stuff. So in the next video, we are going to be moving into much more interesting stuff.